And so we'll kind of just take a grand tally of everything. We won't eliminate the idea if it's, let's say, low volume on Google Trends.
Nicole B, the Chief Pretty Chick in charge at ShopPrettyPieces.com.
Hey, this is Rolando with Global Tech Worldwide.
Hey, this is Daniel Lederstein with Big Eye.
And you are listening to...
And you're watching...
And you're listening to
E-Comm Show.
Welcome to the Ecomm Show, presented by BlueTuskr, the #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Math.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ecomm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Math, and today I am joined by the illustrious Dan Edmund of BossProfits and 15 other businesses that we're going to chat about. Dan, how you doing? You ready for a good show here?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So, as I mentioned in the intro, you have countless businesses, it seems. So it only seemed fitting to give you a minute here and kind of tell us a little bit about each of them, how you got into it. Tell us a little bit about your background. We'll start there, okay?
Definitely. Well, they're not 15 different businesses. It's 15, and 15's definitely an estimate. About 2008 or so, my wife had worked with a lab, developed a weight loss product. I still had a day job. Had no money really. I was working with computers back then. So I kind of tried to start selling it on the side. Back then, everything was different. You couldn't just build a website with Shopify and these pretty user-friendly sites now. But luckily, I had a friend. He had went to college, got some programming degrees and stuff like that. So he helped me out a lot with it. We were able to get it going. After a few months, I was able to quit my job. But as you know, everything was different back then. Not a lot of people were advertising online. Ultimately things were easy back then, easier, I guess. Not a lot of competition. Fast forward a little bit, competition came around. We had to kind of change how we did things to stay on top. Ultimately, we stayed on top. So after a couple of years, we did very well. I believe it was 8 million in the first year or two alone. But
wow.
Like I said, being transparent, everything was different back then.
Yeah.
Would be very hard to do that today with a brand new business.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, after a couple of years, we had perfected a system so well, we decided, let's see if we can replicate it into new products, new niches, new audiences. And we did. We started with a supplement company. It was a weight loss product. So we kind of branched that out, similar niche with different types of supplements, joint, damage or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then we got into pet supplies. We kind of got into everything. And ultimately, we were able to replicate it. So we fine-tuned it from start to finish, how to pick products, where to get products. And then really, it was about a year and a half ago. It's we've done so many of these sites. And that 15 number, it's probably 3 times that.
Jeez.
And but we've just replicated it. We can do it now so quick. About a year and a half ago, put it into a program and we started teaching people, this is how we do it from start to finish. Literally the exact steps we do. Yeah. And so it's doing good.
Huh. And so obviously that's what BossProfits is, correct?
Yep. It's pretty much just teaching people to do what we've done. From start to finish, from finding products to building the site out. The tools that are around today, I would have killed for them to be around when we first started. Yeah. It was all manual labor back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice.
So it's essentially, we'll call it a consultancy or a course about how to set up an e-commerce business pretty much from start to finish.
Right.
And the first one you did $8 million in the first year. Obviously, I highly doubt you're getting those results now.
Oh, no.
What do you have? Like, all right. So if you were to do it now, what type of results do you typically see in the first like couple of years?
Well, we continue doing it now. I mean, realistically, I mean, I wouldn't say we got lucky back then. Times were just different back then. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah.
But realistically, now we do probably launch a few new products, new sites a year. We've had this weird goal of trying to do one a month. I don't know why we never do it, but but realistically, most of our sites they can do 100,000 profit within the first year. 10,000 people that we're currently working with, they can usually do about 10,000 within about the first 3 to 6 months. It's just about being consistent. You don't always get the right product. And I think anybody can do this really if they just keep going. Sometimes the first product will fail or the first couple products, but I think we do have such a good system though, where we eliminate a lot of the risk. Obviously nothing's ever guaranteed, but yeah, average site now, I mean, it's easy to get it to 10,000 a month. Brand new product, no brand new audience, brand new everything. I mean, that's realistic.
So I'm going to ask so many prying questions, and obviously you probably shouldn't give it away because then what's the point, right?
Right.
But because this is so wildly different from, typically we have someone on the show, they own one, maybe two companies, and they have just been focused on it. You have more of like a spray and pray approach where you build out new businesses in a perfect world every month. So how does that even work? Like, how do you even get a site up in under a month or start promoting it? And like, how do you suggest around like driving traffic to the site? Like how does that work, especially in the beginning stages there?
Yeah, well, I mean, now I have a team, so it's easy, but if I had to do it myself, I mean, it's still, I mean, very realistic with, I mean, things like Shopify and these out of the box e-commerce platforms. I mean, it does make it pretty easy. I mean, you do need, it's not a get rich quick scheme. I mean, you obviously need a little bit of money to start advertising. But even now, with the advertising costs, we always still start low. We start as if we are literally brand new with everything. We don't come out of the gate and, maybe lose a ton of money. We start low and then we scale just as if it was a brand new business. But really we got the process we do. I mean, you can kind of set aside, okay, got about a week for product research, realistically a week or so, and this is assuming you're doing it solo to build out a site. As far as the legal parts of it, a lot of similar products we just put under the same business entity, so we don't have to go through all the legal process. They're just new sites. We don't have to set up new credit card processing companies. So a lot of the stuff that can kind of take a little bit of time, it's already done. We'll just inherit it into a new site. Now credit card merchant companies, a lot of people don't know this. And fortunately, this long into it, we learned a lot of things the hard way. But you always have to get approval. Hey, we're going to accept credit card payments on this brand new site. And they have to go through it and everything. And if you don't tell them and they find out, they get a little mad. So a lot of the back end or a lot of the stuff that just, is not fun, like the legal and credit card processing, that's already done because we'll inherit it if it's a similar, niche related product.
My mind is blown right now. It's like, we help sellers all the time with like marketing and stuff. And the fact that you come out and knock this stuff out in like a month or two is amazing. How large? So you mentioned it's maybe 3 times the 15 I had mentioned. So let's say you have like 50 some odd e-commerce businesses you're working with.
Right.
How many employees do you have?
Six full-time employees.
So you have 6 full-time employees working on 50 some odd different businesses.
Yeah. I mean, you can, and there's a million different ways you can do this. But really I got two shippers. We ship everything in-house. We'll start with drop shipping, and then the ultimate goal is to get it in-house. I mean, that's where the profit is.
Mm-hmm.
We have a warehouse. They're over on the mainland still. But yeah, I mean, everybody kind of has their own roles. We have one person that literally builds out the Shopify site. He coordinates. I got a graphic person. One person solely in charge of email. I mean, huge part of what we make is email. And yeah, everyone just kind of has their roles. They stay out of each other's way. We'll kind of do a little bit of product research. We'll do everything we possibly can to verify, to validate the market. And, that's most important, not validating the product, but we'll spend a lot of time really, before we put all this time into it. I mean, employees cost money. Before we put all this time and effort, and you got to make sure the product's allowed on Facebook and Google. And, but yeah, and then once it's like, okay, we're pretty confident this is a good product, the winning product. Here's all the reasons why. Hand it off, and everyone does their part. And by the time it's done, it's a complete site. And some of these turn into a full brand. That first company I was talking about, it's still around. I mean, it's got 200,000 customers. The product, because it's weight loss, ended up kind of being considered a high risk product after several years, but it still does good. I mean, I could live comfortably if that was my only site today. We also did another one several years ago. It was a beard. Believe it or not, I used to have a pretty awesome beard.
I did too.
Awesome. But yeah, it's a beard, facial hair type beard care company. And that one turned into a full brand, massive following. I think a couple 100,000 people follow it. So some of the products, it's very long term. We don't stick with, years ago we did a couple trending ones where they had a life cycle. Is my camera okay? Because I'm froze on my end.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing you good.
All right, cool. I can see you good, but anyway, so yeah, it's years ago we used to kind of do the trending ones where it had a life cycle, like selfie sticks and fidget spinners, and it was just, I mean, 3 months you kill it, but then it's like it just dies. So now we try to focus on the niches and areas that never die. Health, wealth, hobbies, the typical stuff. So they keep doing good.
That's so, I don't even know where to begin with this. All right, so let's try something else. So someone comes to you and says, so they come to BossProfits, they say, I want to do that. How do you get them started? Is it a service that you're offering them, I assume, outside of like a course or something? Like, what is that whole process like?
Yeah. So, I've always, I mean, I'm really a marketer. That's my job. I'm not a business owner. I don't look at it like that. I'm a marketer, and my mind's always going 1,000 different ways. But I mean, I've tried to kind of do some marketing on the sides, and it always ran into the problem. When you own the business, you take different risks. And that was always the problem I had with working with people in the past. It's like, well, if it was my business, I would do this. But you're you know how it is when you start e-commerce, or any business for that matter. You are risking losing money with advertising. And so that was always the problem. So now when people sign up, they're in control because it's their business. If they want to put in the money, put in the work, they're going to see the results. And so how we kind of set it up was, it's a course. It's 90 days, but you can go at your own pace. That's kind of the average amount of time that it takes people to complete it.
Mhm.
And then the coaching, I mean, that's kind of the valuable part. This many years and this many products, we've probably done a lot of failing too. So a lot of times when something isn't working, we can usually figure out why real quick. And so that's pretty much it. We talk to them on the phone. And because we can, I mean, and I'm sure people probably just say this, but we decided when we started coaching people, let's be picky. I don't, if we have to continue talking to them, I don't want to have problems. You want things to be comfortable. And so we are kind of selective, but because of that, the results are higher. We've never had a complaint. We've never had anyone ask for a refund even. They sign up, they get access to the course, and then they schedule calls, coaching calls. Seems to be the average amount of people, the average person, I guess. They usually schedule a call a week or so. But they also get access to me or my team via Messenger anytime they get stuck. Because a lot of the questions are just, simple online questions and answers that doesn't require a full hour phone call. So yeah, that's kind of it.
So did they also get to leverage your team in terms of the services, or is the coaching kind of a here's how you're going to find the product, here's how you're going to create your website, here's how you're going to brand it, you go do it?
Yeah, we don't really do much with done for you. It's kind of how you do it. But we've revised the course, really based on the feedback we got from, beta testers or whatever. We've revised it where there's a lot of sharing my screen. Like, okay, this is how we're doing this. I mean, I kind of half build a new site. I, go through the whole process from there. But yeah, I mean, if people maybe need help just building out the site, I mean, I do work with people that aren't employees, that I'll send to people, but it's very hands off. And that's all for reasons because we tried to be hands on and it was just, yeah. It's hard to sometimes just meet eye to eye. So
how have you been coaching through the past couple of years? Like between, some products obviously didn't do as well during COVID. Some did even significantly better. Some had supply chain issues, others didn't. Like, how were you able to help coach through that whole process?
Well, so that was something, I mean, the last couple of years, I don't think anybody could have predicted. And, I kind of, looking back, I probably had the wrong attitude, but I felt horrible. I live on Maui where, I mean, over half the people depend on tourism here. And, I was seeing companies get shut down. People were losing their jobs and I felt horrible. But, in my head, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm doing E-Comm. E-commerce is online, but that was not the case. I mean, a month later, people were losing their jobs. People didn't have money. On top of that, I feel people were hesitant on what they were spending money on. And we had a lot of products that we thought were actually going to blow up during that time, like immune system type products. But then the whole shipping issues came into, I mean, there was just one thing after another. And, we kind of had to get creative. We focused on email lists and we stayed afloat, but everything caught us off guard because we thought we were just everything proof. You sell online. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, we're solid no matter what, but you don't expect something like that to happen where people aren't spending money anymore. Unless you're selling, hand sanitizer or something.
Yeah, really.
So we had to do a major pivot, as everyone seems to be calling it these days. And change how we did things. We focused just treating our existing customers good, giving them the VIP, codes and everything. And ultimately we stayed up.
Nice. Is
But
the whole process like with Boss Profits in general and how you're teaching these sellers? Is it to get them set up to kind of build a brand and, kind of, I guess, more or less what I would consider going the traditional route of e-commerce? Or is the whole course really around what you've replicated, which is essentially sourcing product, create a website, launch it, move on to the next product, new website?
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, I only teach what we do. And what we do is continue replicating it. We do have a few, like I mentioned, major brands, I guess. I mean, not major, but big. But our primarily what we teach is, get this top notch, get it as fully optimized as you can. The thing that I've always kind of looked at it is you can put all your time. Okay, we're on the top on Google or Facebook. We've kind of done just about everything you can, or we can spend all this time. Let's go redo all of our campaigns. Let's go get some new ad creatives. Or this is the way I look at it. Obviously, it's just an opinion. The way I look at it is it's a lot easier just to do product research and build out a new site. I mean, when you build a couple stores, I mean, you can almost do it in your sleep. I mean, with Shopify, I'm not a programmer. I'm the worst coder in the world. I'm not a coder, but every time I've attempted it, I'm horrible. But that's the way I look at it. It's a lot easier trying to think of new ways to how can this existing site try to make 10,000 more a month with everything it's already doing. I just go right to the new product because for me, it's a lot easier. I always just feel, and it's not, I always just feel you kind of hit this cap where it's like, all right, now we got to start working harder because we're maximizing everything. It's that's just the way I look at it. It's just a lot easier to get a new product going, new site, and you start learning how to do it real quick too, because it's always the same.
It's really interesting. I hear business models like yours all the time in terms of like Amazon stuff, like all these FBA guys, you use something like a Helium 10 or a Jungle Scout or something like that to source whatever product you want to get. You figure out through their algorithm, like what you can get a lot of sales from. And then they just kind of put it up. They don't really build a brand. They're just kind of selling product. In your case, you're doing a similar approach, but it's primarily all off Amazon. It's through Shopify. How is it you are figuring out what these how do you figure out the market for these products?
I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. The biggest, when you're figuring out the product or the market and not products, most of it is just free tools that are already out there. Groups, for example, Google preview tool. That's probably been our most powerful. I mean, that not our most powerful, but that's probably our number one thing that we do very first. When we just think of a random product idea, we'll go use that. And I'm actually surprised more people don't talk about that tool because it will literally tell you how many people are searching for that product on Google. But you don't hear a lot about it. But there's Jungle Scout. There's a lot of other tools out there, and it's really just a combination of multiple different things. I mean, Google Trends, I know that's kind of one that a lot of people talk about, but I've kind of found that's not always 100% accurate. So we'll kind of take a combination of a few different tools out there. And it's like, all right, this wasn't very good on Google Trends, let's say, but look at all these Facebook groups, look at all these people on, look at all the views on YouTube. I mean, people like this product being used, or look at the Google preview tool. And so we'll kind of just take a grand tally of everything. We won't eliminate the idea if it's, let's say, low volume on Google Trends, for example. Yeah. So it's just kind of I can't remember the number. I think there's about 8 different things that we do. And as long as about 3 of them look good, then we'll go for it.
So you're judging the how much the market is interested in that certain product, obviously. How are you deciphering the amount of competition you may be going up against?
So I actually think this subject is the only reason we lasted. I don't look at Amazon as competition. Yeah, and I know a lot do, and I only know that because of a lot of people we start working with. That's the first thing they say. How am I going to sell this for $30 when Amazon sells it for $20? Long before ClickFunnels and stuff came around. I mean, that's kind of how we stayed on top. Was we created funnels, manual labor back then. But so instead of selling the exact same product, we would turn it into our own product by adding additional products. Sometimes it's digital products, sometimes it's physical products. So now you're not selling an apples to apples same product that Amazon's selling. You're selling kind of a package. I mean, this is kind of one different way. The other thing too is when people are spending $20 or $30 online, and I've proved this with our products anyway, that they're not price shopping out there to save a few dollars. If you can impress them enough in a few seconds when they come to your site, they're not going to leave. Let's go see if I can save $3 on Amazon, because you've already impressed them with your reviews or your copy on your site. So that's kind of when the competition came around back in with that first business I was telling you about. That's really what we had to do. Was we didn't want to lower our price. I mean, I think we did at the beginning. It's like, no, so we kept the price. It was a weight loss product, but it was 13 years ago. But I think we ended up adding, it was an ebook with a bunch of recipes. And then we which was free, digital. And then we created a weight loss. It was a weight loss in inches tracker. All it was an Excel spreadsheet. Our office assistant at the time, she knew all these Excel formulas or whatever to make. So they got that with it. And I believe that was it. And that's how we beat the competition. We just offered a different product. It was the same product, just with more. Just
same product, just more value, basically.
Right. That's it. We just increased the value in the customer's eyes. And now they're common words, perceived value or funnels. I mean, we never call them funnels. We call them microsites or something. We had our own name. We still call them that. but then everyone kind of caught on, and so it's somewhat common now. So we don't look at Amazon as a competition. If Amazon has a ton of reviews, we look at it as further validation of the product, because if it's selling, it's a good product.
Yeah.
We don't try to do new products. We're not trying to do something on Shark Tank or anything.
Yeah. So if let's say, someone's starting off, they launch their site. I know it may be kind of dependent on the product line, but what is the first channel that you start going after? Do you tell them like, hey, focus on SEO to get going, or Facebook ads or Google ads, or like what? How do you tell them to start getting things moving?
Absolute first thing is validate the market and product first.
Yeah.
And actually people will usually spend the most amount of time doing that. A lot of times, and I do this still, you'll think you have a really good product idea, and then after a little bit of research, you find out it's not the case at all. But once you have validated the market and the product, that's the absolute first thing. I try to get a little bit of organic sales to begin with. Don't spend a whole bunch of money and find out you can't move it for whatever reason. That's kind of the first step. SEO. SEO is kind of how I started in all of this at the very beginning. I wanted to learn SEO. And I did for a while, but then Google changed their algorithms so much and so often. Yeah. So now about the only SEO I really focus on is the basic, alt tags, titles. I don't get all into the backlinks or anything like that. Just because, and SEO is very valuable, don't get me wrong, but I think our time is valuable. And I think when people are starting with a business, there's a lot more quicker return type things that they can put their time into. So yeah, after they validate that, we'll usually start by doing kind of a drop shipping method. So they'll build out a Shopify just with a template. And we'll usually just start with a drop shipping method. That shouldn't be, I guess how we do it. People do it a million different ways. We'll kind of start drop shipping once the momentum's there. Then we'll focus on working with an actual manufacturer, get branding on it depending on the product, and then get it over to us, and we're buying in bulk. So that's kind of it. Yeah.
I like that model. I've spoken to a lot of sellers about doing that as well. Like even some sellers that have pre-existing like private label brands. Right. I always talk to them about consider like adding in some drop shipping, because it's a really inexpensive way to expand your product line, but also figure out what else your customers are willing to buy and then go manufacture it.
Right.
So it's a very interesting approach. Is staying in drop shipping. I'm always kind of like, I wouldn't stick to solely drop shipping just because sometimes those margins are rough. But being able to have a little bit more control and end up private labeling yourself, smart move. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's how we do it. I mean, I don't drop shipping long term. The shipping time alone is just not worth it. Oh, yeah. If it's coming from overseas, it's still taking several weeks. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was taking months. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it shouldn't be a long term thing. But I know companies are making millions, and drop shipping is their end goal. They don't ever want to move beyond that. And I can understand it. You never have to worry about the product, stocking it, or, but just have a fulfillment center ship it for you if you don't want to ship it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Dan, really appreciate having you on the show. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have like 8,000 businesses to get to. So why don't you
go down to the beach?
Yeah. Hey, that's the way it's done, right? That's why we do this. Why don't you take a second, tell everyone a little bit more about where they can find more on BossProfits.
Well, thank you again for having me. I mean, most information can just be on BossProfits.com. I'm not sure how up to date it is, but you can only schedule a time to talk to someone. I think there's a little video kind of tells you what we do and how to schedule a call, talk to someone. I try to take as many of these calls as I can. I still believe in feedback. That's how you improve every company, business. But yeah, all the information, BossProfits.com. You can get everything from there.
Cool. Beautiful. Dan, thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you head over to ecommshow.com, check out all of our other episodes. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer or over at YouTube. But as usual, appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the Ecomm Show.